Welcome, everybody. We're having a podcast with Jen. We're preparing the next generation for HR leaders, is the podcast that we have going today. Today, I'm excited to welcome Jen, Director of Business Development for HRCP, one of the industry's most trusted provider in HR certification preparation materials for SHRM and HRCI exams. I'm Derek Briggs. I'm your host today. I'm with Briggs Strategies. I'm a group leader with helping people and small and mid-sized businesses align strategies, systems, and technologies so they can grow their ROI to a better level. Getting into it, Jen plays a major role in helping thousands of HR professionals advance their career throughout certifications. Her work at HRCP, she's deeply involved in understanding the needs of learners, staying ahead and make sure that the laws are followed by the different practices, making sure HRCP curriculum always meets the standards needed for these HR professionals. Today's episode will go through the background and how HRCP adapts into the rapid shift in HR landscape and trends shaping the future of HR certification and stories that gathered along the way that Jen will be able to share with us. So, Jen, welcome and glad to have you here today.
Thank you. It's nice to be asked, and I'm excited to talk about HR. I'm always talking about HR, so it's nice that you're inviting me on your podcast.
Well, thank you. So, get, dri- Diving right into it, since I am tongue-tied today, like we talked about the other day, trying not to get tongue-tied. I think you shared that with me this time. But we'll go ahead and get started. What initially brought you to HRCP, and what is your role there? As we talked about before, you had kind of talked about how you kind of grew in with the company and everything. So, kind
Yeah,
of give us a kind of roadmap of what happened and how it happened.
that's a great question. I guess first to introduce myself, today is my birthday. I told you. Yes, I'm a little bit older. Isn't that song 1 year older and wiser too? Anyway, so I'm
Yes.
more wise today than I was last time. Um,
Hmm.
but my role at HRCP is the Director of Business Development. It has not always been the Director of Business Development. HRCP was kind of a brainchild of my friend and I as we graduated from college 30 something years ago. And we were having a hard time getting a job in the marketplace. HR, was high unemployment that year. And so we went to our favorite instructor, our professor, and kind of were, I don't know, grousing. We were very frustrated, and he just kind of gave us this idea of developing these study materials based on content that he had, developing study materials for the HR certification exams. And we were young and dumb, and um, we didn't even consider we were going to be competitors with large corporations. We just thought, of course we can do this, and we developed a company and we went into business together. And that was 31 years ago. We've been in business together, my friend Laura and I, and we've grown since then. And we love HR professionals. We love trying to help them grow in their profession, in becoming more knowledgeable, and helping the HR profession um, be what it is today. So I feel like we've made a difference, small and progressively larger difference in the organization, in HR as a whole. So we love it, and we've been doing it a long time. I was 7 years old at the time. If I say we started this 31 years ago, we were children. We were children.
Right. Well, like you said, you're coming out of college, so you took a great path. And I like that in our past conversation, you don't only just do it for the United States, you do it for the international community as well. So that's very exciting to hear that,
We
that y'all
do.
are taking that to the next level and being able to work with people internationally and they can use your curriculum in their countries as well. So that's a very exciting thing that I think should be recognized as well, that you don't just focus on the United States, but you focus on the international community as well, which is a very, you know, nice thing to hear that companies are looking outside the big scope of everything to introduce to the international community to help them get to the next level as well. So,
Which is really important for those companies who want very trained and knowledgeable HR professionals. But if their company works outside of the U.S. as well, they want to have content that they can train not only their U.S. employees but their international employees as well. So we have expanded our content from the US based law with the international content. So it's been a challenge, and updating those materials are always difficult as well. But it's important to us that we have relevant information. So, yeah.
and you have a team specifically dedicated to focus on that for you, correct?
We do, and it is always just a challenge, I guess. Every fall, we start usually at the end of August, and it takes us the entire until December to update our materials. We're really careful about how um, that we are updating our materials because, as you know, the HR profession changes every year. Laws change, and we need to stay up to date. So our new materials every year comes out January 1st. So the entire fall we're updating our materials. We throw we throw each other under the bus. We try and take the exams as often as it's available to us. And so, for example, Terry was the last one. She's our chief operating officer, and she took all 8 exams that are available within probably a 2 or 3 week time period, where she took the APHR, the PHR, SPHR, and then the 3 tests that are the international equivalent. And then she took the SHRM CP and the SHRM SCP within, I don't know, I think it was probably 3 weeks, which is a terrible way to spend your your week. But we need to know that our materials cover everything that's on these exams. So, this is what we do. We don't have to do that. We could recertify in other ways in earning recertification credits, but we need to know that our content is good. So
Mhm.
we just retest every time it's available.
Well, and that went right into my next question that we were going to talk about. What goes into ensuring that your curriculum is aligned with the changes in HR laws and best practices? I mean, that kind of just spells out right there what you just said is you go through and take the test yourselves and make sure that the information is correct. I think that's a very positive impact to show that y'all are dedicated to your craft and
Oh.
making sure that all the information that these people are being tested on are the right information, um, and that not only is it the right curriculum, but can everybody take it, or is it written in a way that not everybody can learn from it, or those different things are very important as well, as to have that type of um, thought process as you go through this.
The exams, obviously, there's different levels of the exam. There's that entry level, then there's the professional levels. The professional levels would be the PHR or the SHRM CP. And that requires some years of experience and some education level. And then there's those senior level exams. On the HRCI side, it's the the SC, I'm covering bases. The SHRM SCP is that senior level, and then the SPHR exam for the HRCI exams. And so there's different requirements. And so as your listeners are trying to decide if they're interested in certification, they need to decide which exam they're studying for and which one they meet the requirements for. And they can learn that from their HRCI website or the SHRM website, because there are requirements and they need to know which exam that they should focus towards.
And another thing in our other conversation that we talked about is you were talking about making sure that, your supervisors and your managers go through some of these courses because of some of the things that they could potentially put themselves into or put the company in harm's way due to the fact of not having the correct information. And I thought that was
For
very
sure.
interesting to hear.
For sure. Having a well-trained HR professional will save so much money for a company. Maybe it's rude to talk about that. What we have seen in the news recently, there have been really big payouts. Um, Companies have been sued by former employees because they have not followed um, the law, should we say. And so they've had really big payouts. Um, anyway, so yeah, we will have a phone call to our office when someone has already started the legal process and just say, what can we do? And once it's happened, you can't undo it. The only thing we can say is you need to train your employees. They need to know what the law is. We have one of our digital badges is great. Our employment badge. It is the most popular of our badges for non-HR professionals because it teaches what the basic HR law is. And so you won't have managers, firing people on the manufacturing floor. They need to know there is a process. There's a verbal reprimand. There's verbal and written warning, and before they ever fire someone, that there are processes. And so it's important to have trained HR professionals just to protect the company from litigation.
Mhm. And that's very, very important to have it kind of did a check for me when you said that, is to have, the supervisors and managers trained on some form of HR aspect of it so that they are prepared to be able to communicate with people and everything. So I thought that was a good footnote in there that I really wanted to make sure we brought to the forefront today, so that people will realize as they listen to the podcast and see these different things that they think outside the box like you've been doing and think about what about my supervisors? Let's get some training for them as well, so that they're not doing something or saying something that is inappropriate or handling the manufacturing floor, like you said, and just saying, all right, you're gone now, you messed up, bye. And so, like you said again, you also have said that, once the litigation is started, there's nothing that you can change now. So educate them up front is very important too. So I
And
agree
you
with
think
that.
about it, if you're paying to train your employees, just the cost of that, yes, you think, okay, this is kind of expensive to put all of these employees through this training. But on the other hand, if something were to ever happen, those punitive damages from a court case would way exceed the cost of training your employees. So, it's part of risk management. From the
Mhm.
executive point of view, I am minimizing my risk to the company by training my employees to be good at their jobs.
Mhm. And I think that's very important because I feel like so many people are being put in positions where they're not haven't had the time in the business or in the position to be knowledgeable of what to do and what not to do. And I think that's why I see it and have seen in the past how things have been handled inappropriately because they're just not trained and they don't have the background in management skills to be able to do that or think in the HR realm of things. So I agree with you on that aspect of it. So we're going to change a little bit here and dive back into a little bit of your background again. How has HR professions changed during your time at HRCP?
That is a loaded question. I've been doing this for over 30 years. And so things have progressed in those 30 years that, something today that's a big deal. For example, AI is a big deal these days. That wasn't a thing 30 days or 30 years ago. Another thing I used the term onboarding. Onboarding wasn't a term that was used 30 years ago. That wasn't a thing. I mean, the process was there, but we didn't call it onboarding. And so just the language has updated. I heard a term, the first time I heard it was recently. They called it job hugging. I had never heard the term job hugging, but that may make its way into our materials. Job hugging is when the job market is tight and they're nervous about letting go of their job, that it's called job hugging because they're nervous to leave that job and go looking for another job. So job hugging. So if you hear it, in 30 years, that may be a big thing. Who knows? So, but yeah,
Okay.
the 30 years in HR, things have changed significantly. HRCI and SHRM were so closely affiliated 30 years ago that people didn't know it was two different organizations. They thought
Okay.
it was the same. Uh, SHRM would have the study materials to prepare the students to take the HRCI exams, and they didn't know that those were two different organizations. And probably I think it was 2014 was the year that SHRM and HRCI had a nasty divorce. The kids don't like it when mommy and daddy fight, right? It was a nasty divorce, and SHRM decided they wanted a bigger piece of the pie, maybe. Now, remember, this is just my opinion, so I don't want
Right.
nasty words said to me from SHRM coming after me, but they wanted a bigger piece of the pie. They wanted to not only prepare students with the study materials, but they wanted to provide the certification exams as well. So now there's this break in the two different organizations with the study materials and the certification exams. So we were this neutral party in the middle that prepared students for HR certification. And when two organizations came out of this nasty divorce, we were just this neutral party that said, our materials, we're not going to prepare you for one or the other. We will prepare you for both. And we train HR professionals for whichever certification exam you want to go take. So, here you go. So our materials cover both exams, and they're designed in a way that is the most effective training, and it doesn't follow content outline for either organization. It follows the outline that is the easiest for a student to understand the content. So that's maybe one to answer your question directly. When there have been challenges in updating our materials because both organizations have put out a content outline that they're not textbook writers, and they're not the student. They are they're doing this from an exam point of view, but from a learner's point of view, you want to learn the content in a way that's easiest to understand and grasp the concepts. So, a few years ago, they changed the content outline and they separated out, so for example, employment law. They talked about the employment principles, but then in a whole other section, they had the employment law. They had all of the laws in one unit, which doesn't make sense. As a learner, when you're understanding and you're learning a concept, you want to have the laws that apply to those concepts together. So we just decided we will organize our content in a way that makes sense, that's easiest for the learner to understand. So
And that's the one thing that I feel like in talking to you that y'all were really focused on the learner and making sure they get all their details together, being able to really prepare for the test that they need to take. And like you're saying, you're preparing them for a test. It doesn't matter where they take the test or what the test is. I want them to be successful and be able to learn the laws and the uh, different aspects of it so that they can take the test, pass the test, and be successful. And that's the nice thing that I have learned in talking to you before this podcast that you really shared that and kind of really showed that um, kind of wanting to make sure that people are successful. And that was a nice thing that I learned
yeah.
about you and your company. It's like, hey, I just want people to be successful.
And if they decide to not go take the test, if they're reading the content to understand and be a better HR professional, the content needs to make sense to them. So
Mhm.
we're trying to make educated and great HR professionals. We're trying to teach them to be good at their jobs.
Mhm. And that's the most important thing is, whenever whenever anybody's trying to prepare for exam, they're already stressed out about it enough. But if you can give them in context that they can learn and be successful, that's the most important part about it. And be able to use those be able to remember those different areas, like you said, the employment law, and be able to know all the different steps behind it is very successful for them. And like you said, maneuvering the academics to the right level of expectations that people can learn from is very positive. And I think people knowing that and being feel comfortable that, hey, this company really wants me to be successful and will have the concepts in a way that will help me be successful when it comes to exam time and past exam time because they'll be able to reflect back to it. And that's the positive thing that I feel is very positive in talking to you in the past. So we're going to move on to a little bit more in depth here. What's a moment or learning story that really sticks out over the last few years that really was like an aha moment or something that someone came back and said, well, you made this better or that different or, any of those type of things that would be really, you know, great for these people to hear from you.
That is a good question. When we've been doing certification prep for 30 years. And during COVID, we recognized not everybody wants that full 900 pages of content. They may just be doing benefits administration or, a small or a recruiter. They are responsible for this much material, but the cert prep, it covers such a wide range. It's all of the HR content. And if they're not interested in learning labor law and risk management, um, it's less appealing to them. So during COVID, we took our content and we broke it down into very focused areas of HR, and we created digital badges that would cover just that very focused area. So our 900 pages of content was broken into 13 digital badges that covered the 13 focus areas of HR. And so, your listeners recruiting, they may not want to go study unions and labor law, but there is a credential for them, employment. Or so, what you asked me, what is one memory that sticks out or a story that sticks out? We had a woman. Her name was Akiva. I remember her name was Akiva. She called our office and she was in tears because she had been trying so long to get a job and she wanted to be a benefits administrator, but she didn't have any benefits on her resume. She hadn't worked in a benefits. I think she had been doing employment. But she wanted to grow in her position, and she just didn't have an opportunity to do that. And she had been putting her resume out for months, and it just wasn't working. And so we talked her through, and we told her about this benefits badge that we have. And she took the badge. I can't remember. I think it might be 3 or 4 hours. Can't remember right now how long it is. But she did that over the weekend. She updated her resume. She posted her digital badge on LinkedIn and put it, on her social media, whatever. And that next week she had 4 interviews for a job, and the week after that she had a job as a benefits administrator because of that digital badge that she took. Those few hours of training really made a difference for her, and she has been one of our best salespeople. Our customers become our best salespeople. So it
Yeah.
was a happy story for
Well,
her,
and
and
being
we
able to
have
post that,
all kinds of stories.
well, and being able to post that on your LinkedIn and be able to, like you said, post those different things that add to their certifications that will have people look at them, and then, like you said, be able to get a job in the areas they want to be, and not be a job hugger.
Yeah, we have just the way. So I guess I'm going to brag for a second. That's one of the things I'm most proud of. Before we were building these badges, I did all of this research to know the actual digital badge. What can I do to make it the most valuable um, for for the people who earn the badge? And so I learned all about metadata and how to add metadata to the digital badge so that it has the skills tags. We know that recruiters and people who are hiring for jobs, they need to know what skills those employees have. And so we've added the skills tags and all that metadata within those digital badges so that when someone shares their digital badge on LinkedIn or on their resume, that it adds that metadata that will bring that employee or whoever is posting that, it will take them to the top of the list on LinkedIn when a recruiter is looking for those skills, that badge will bring them front and center. So that's it helped that I did my homework before we built those badges, because as applicant tracking systems and the AI recognition of those skills tags is critical.
And again, like you said, you're doing your due diligence. You're preparing these people to be successful, giving the data that is needed for them to be able to learn it, retain it, is another very positive thing that in talking to you and in our conversations that has really kind of shown through. And wanted to do this podcast with you to kind of show everybody that this company's really taking it to the next level. They're focus on the benefit of the employee, the person that's being educated to be able to, like you said, get a job, in a specific area in HR and benefits or any other areas. And like you said, recruiters and staffing managers need to have this information and be able to use these things to enhance their skills as well. And by continuing to build these different badges and breaking down, like you said, 900 pages of documents, who's going to go through that and try to figure out what's proficient for them? You've already done it for them, and you set up the badges, and it's set up in a way that can be everybody can see what they're doing and what education they have in that area. So that's the positive part I see from this whole um, business that y'all have done, and it's probably a good thing that you broke off from Sherm. It sounds like is giving you more challenges and giving you more opportunities to really help people.
Yeah, we one thing uh, that has helped people specifically if they're interested in certification prep, and all those 900 pages can seem very daunting. so much content. Usually it takes someone 3 to 4 months to get through all of that content to prepare for the certification exams. And when we broke out our digital badges and those 13 digital badges, it covers all of the same content. But if someone is worried that they're not going to pass that certification exam, they can take these digital badges one at a time and cover all of the content to prepare for the certification exam. But if they don't pass, they still have earned these digital badges that they can put on their resume, that they can show all, that they've earned something for all this work that they've put in. So these digital badges, they're colorful, they look great on a resume, and it's proof of skill for, for those recruiters who are looking, can this employee do these action items and these skills? Yes, they have this, and it's been proven through, earning these digital badges. So it's kind of a unique way. These digital badges are a unique way towards certification. If someone has not passed that certification or they're nervous about that full certification, this is just another option for them.
And giving people's options like that, but also them seeing themselves getting rewarded by having, like you said, the digital badge on their LinkedIn or have it on their resume, that makes them feel good that I've accomplished something, and like you said, they can slowly work toward the final exam and be prepared for it, but also be able to say, you know, I've gotten through this one area, I've gotten to the next area till I get through all 13 areas instead of you said, how many people are really going to sit there for 3 months and go through all the material to prepare? Not too many people are going to do that. So you've given them another option to really get the information needed to help them. And then it's a step-by-step process to get through all 13. But also they feel like they've earned something at that point instead of just spending 3 or 4 months studying material. There's no really, it's like only gratifications you're going to have is when you take the final exam. And if you pass it,
Yeah.
type of thing where you've broken it down to make them feel like I've accomplished something through the steps to get there. And
Yeah.
that's the most
These
important thing that y'all have done.
bite-sized credentials are so helpful. It gives the pat on the back that I have read, I understand these concepts, and it's an area of HR that I'm very interested in. And so to complete this and have that pat on the back with the digital badge and be able to put something on your resume in a very short amount of time. The average digital badge is 4 to 5 hours in length. We have a couple that are longer and a couple that are only 2.5 hours in length. I think well, I won't go into it, but I think we have a couple that are 2.5 hours. And so just to have something that very quickly can make a difference, especially if you are currently looking for a job, to have something to add proof of skill to your resume. Right now, with the use of AI in the marketplace, that is the biggest, I think, challenge for recruiters, is that now that people are having AI help them write their resumes, all the resumes are starting to look alike. And and it has increased the volume of resumes that they're having to review. And when all the resumes are looking the same, to be able to find the right candidate who has these skills. And now if someone has a digital badge that's proof of skill that is instantly verifiable, if you click on the badge, it takes you to the Credly site that says, this is the earner, this is the date they earned this, this is when it expires, these are the skills that they learned to do this. Instantly verifiable. It makes such a difference for someone who's looking for a job, but also for the recruiter who's reviewing those skills. So HR digital badges need to be valued by HR professionals because number one, they need it for themselves, but also they need to know the value of a digital badge and what it can do to help you fill those, if you're a hiring manager, you're trying to help a hiring manager find employees for their organization. And HR professionals need to know about the value of digital credentials.
And this is news to me. This is I've never heard of digital credentials. So, it's educating to me to learn about this. And especially since I work with HR professionals, I'm working with, people that are hiring people. I'm working with recruiters, staffing managers, and so forth. Being able to have that information and provide it is going to be, so helpful in going through this journey of learning about the businesses that are out there and being able to share these things like you're sharing is going to be beneficial getting this information out to the recruiting and staffing managers. I have a meeting tomorrow with a recruiting company, and I want to ask him about digital badges and see what he says.
Yeah, it's
And I might be able
interesting.
to educate him.
We do webinars that are free webinars that we offer, and one of them is the value of a digital credential, and we talk about HR professionals and why they need to know about the value of a digital credential. And one of our slides talks about, the growth of, and it shows, year after year, it's expected to grow in the next 7 years. I was going to say 6 or 7, but I'm not going to do that. That drives me. My kids are driving me crazy with that. Over the next several years, it will grow 300%. Digital badges are expected to just be kind of the wave of the future, and how a 4-year degree or a master's degree in HR are of course very valuable, but that was the 30 years ago. That's where HR, it came from, these business degrees. And as time has progressed, the certification has been more important. And now these digital badges have really kind of taken root and taken over, because they are it's proof of skill. And so they don't, people are saying, the 4-year degree is not where it's at. This shorter, quickly earned digital badge is the future. So, having trained employees that have proof of skill in these focus areas and what they will be actually, the jobs they will be performing, is kind of the future. So, just, the watching that graphic that we have in that webinar, it's so interesting watching just the growth over the last several years and what has transpired and where it's projected to go.
Well, I mean, you just took this podcast out of my hands because the next thing I was going to ask you was where is the HR certification training headed in the next 5, 10 years? You've already answered that question, so we're pretty good at everything. And again, when like I said earlier, those short little, like you said, 3 to 6 hour badges that they can get is going to be huge because they're getting something for their time and rewarding themselves, giving them small little rewards. As you said, there's 13 of them, and being able to get those different rewards, I think is going to definitely benefit your business because they're not going to just be sitting there for 3 or 4 months just reading 900 pages of documents and not getting anywhere when they get the digital badges and feel accomplished, feel like they do have something to show for the time they put into it. They can post it out there, like you said, and now it's going to be looked at a higher level because they have those digital badges. It's a very positive thing for you and your business because you're going to get more and more people coming to you and wanting those digital badges, get those certifications. So that's going to be a great thing. And I think breaking it down, like you said, into 13 different badges is going to make people feel and want to stick with it and continue to get additional badges. I think that's going to be the other positive thing that I see coming out of it personally is like we're rewarding ourselves for getting the education versus just trying to get all the information together, then taking one certification, and if you pass it, great. If you don't, then where did I go wrong? Type of thing. I think by doing this, breaking it down is going to be very positive.
And the other thing is that people who have already received a certification, you know, whether it's an HRCI certification or a SHRM certification, they need to recertify every 3 years. And they're required to have, you know, hours and hours of certification and education. And so these digital badges will also provide those hours. So the average badge, you know, if it's 4 or 5 hours in content that it takes them to earn, it's also 4 or 5 credits. So we have some badges that are worth 2.5 credits and some that are larger, again, you know, 10 credits. So it's a great way. I kind of call it double dipping because you're not only earning a badge that you can put on your resume and on job applications, but it's also earning recertification credits. So you get both. So, and we also, in addition to those 13 digital badges, we have the 7 business management badges that are great for the senior level HR professional that wants, you know, they call it a seat at the table. They want that strategic level position at the company, and they need to have some business acumen where they can understand how the different organizations or departments within their organization how they interact. And so it has, we have business management courses in accounting and finance and logistics and all of those areas so that that senior level HR professional has some training that's available to them that also is pre-approved for recertification credits. So on our website, those are the badges that are in the dark blue. The others are all in colorful, you know, colors, but the dark blue badges are the business management badges. So we have something for everyone.
Yeah. Well, and this you just snuck those in there on me just now that I didn't know about. So it's good additional information that we're sharing this and being able to get all the information out to everybody and being able to pull some more of those high level people into your organization to be able to get them trained and get their certifications and showing them that you want to see them grow not just in the HR communities. You have other options to go into, like you said, a seat at the table and help them, be more successful and get the knowledge they want to get. Like the young lady you spoke about earlier that wanted to get the benefits. You gave her that option. You had an option. You had a badge specifically for her. And now you have it for the senior level HR professionals that now can look at the business at a different level than just from the HR side of things and from the accounting side is what you just said, and those different areas. That to me, that's huge. I mean, that's just, icing on the cake on top of everything that you continue to look at other ways to educate, the HR community, as a whole. And that's very valuable, I think, to any business that will continue to grow and develop over the next 5 to 10 years, like we talked about, that you had already shared. So, that's all of this is, great to hear. I can see a very valuable uh, community that you are going to be instilling a lot of training for, continued education, to continued growth in business, which is very exciting to hear. And again, that's why I wanted to have this podcast with you, is you had so much insight and information to share. Is there anything else you would like to share before we go ahead and wrap this up?
Well, we partner with a lot of organizations that we have HR consultant companies reach out to us, and so we have an affiliate program that we work with people, and we found that our customers are our best salespeople. So anyone who's interested in becoming an affiliate or having just referring our content to other people, we have a program where there's a revenue share that we can participate in. So they can reach out to me as I do business development, and that's under my responsibility. Another thing that for your listeners, for people who are participating with your podcast, we have set up a discount, a 20% off discount for people who've participated in the podcast. And that discount code on our websites, either the HRCP website, which is the CERT prep materials, or if they're interested in these digital badges, that's the micro HR website. Either website, you can use the discount code is POD, like podcast, POD 2025. And that will give them a 20% off discount for whatever they purchase, which is really
Okay.
great because one of our most one of our most purchased items is that 13 badge bundle, and if they're getting 20% off every single one of them, that's significant. So anyway, so for people who want to purchase based on what they've learned today, Pod 2025.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that, Jen. Jen, thank you so much for your sharing your insights and giving us behind the scenes look at how HRCP supports the HR professionals who keeps our workplaces running. Your work continues to elevate the profession. I think that's very positive. You shared a lot of great insight to help learners learn, professionals continue to grow. As you also said, they can continue to get their continued education. All of those things are very insightful and has been great to share with the community that you have really thought about this process. You've gone through and made sure it's maximized that people can be successful in their careers and have listened to people come to you and go, how can I be successful? And you've taken that, and I think you've really evolved something that continues to grow and develops into something very positive for the future. So if you all want to see the materials, visit hrcp.com. And if you want to affiliate, go ahead and get in touch with Jen. She'll be happy to help you with anything that they need. They have great support system and works well with the community. So thank you, Jen. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.